Back, everyone. I'm Michael Lanos. Breaking news we're covering. Right now, at least 9 people were shot in front of the Empire State Building this morning. Police say they killed the suspected shooter. We're also getting reports a woman was killed as well. So if that's the case, then 2 dead, shooter and an innocent bystander. Now, a man nearby heard 9 shots. Another witness says a security guard ran out of the Empire State Building and chased the shooter. There were crowds of tourists screaming as well. Law enforcement is saying there's no link to terrorism. Again, we're following this. So you talk about a Friday morning. This woman was just having her coffee. Her headphones are in. Next thing you know, people are running. She gets word that someone was shot, and she actually saw the gunman's body just laying in front there of the entrance to the Empire State Building. Joining us now, Steve Kardian, former police detective. Steve, talk about this when you talk about, and we look at pictures here of people milling around, Empire State Building, all the tourists, gunshots break out. I mean, how do you go about this, keeping everybody safe? But you got someone with a shotgun just firing at people.
Yeah, Mike, it's a nightmare. It's a lot of pedestrian traffic in this area. I've been down there so many times over the years, as well as vehicular traffic. So what law enforcement's trying to do is secure an area, establish a perimeter, keep people out of the primary crime scene there, and get on and move on. The wounded have been tended to, and now their mission is to conduct their investigation and photograph it and document everything that's transpired here.
Okay, 2 dead, we believe. 7 being treated at the scene. What's that tell you, Steve?
They're being. I mean, that would indicate to me that they're minor injuries, or they haven't been able to stabilize and move them out. This did occur a bit ago, so I'm surprised that they have anybody that's still wounded on the scene. I do believe that they will not remove those that have been fatally shot in order to conduct their investigation. But I don't know that we have any injured people still remaining on scene. Okay,
there were reports of a unarmed security guard coming out of a building and chasing this gunman down. Brave on one hand, but not something law enforcement would advise on the other, right?
You know, as a former 30-year member of law enforcement, we would never advise anyone to do anything like that, but you can't recognize them as anything less than a hero.
Well, in a situation like that, I mean, what is the advice? I mean, you just run for cover.
Well,
is that it? I mean, how do you go about this? Because again, a shotgun, someone with a shotgun just taking shots at folks.
In a mass shooting, we say run, hide, or as a last resort, fight back. And those are the 3 things that we established in mass shootings. Having spoken just on the Batman shooting, that's exactly what we say: run, hide, or fight back. Don't go towards the carnage. Run from it. If you believe you're hearing shots, it's not the backfire. Go away from that scene. Go away from that sound, and get to a secure area.
Okay. Hey, Steve, thanks again for your expertise. Hang tight with us here. We're going to take a quick break. Again, we're following this breaking news: a shooting in front of the Empire State Building. Reports are 10 shot, including the gunman. Innocent bystander could have been shot and killed as well. We'll keep following it for you. Come right back. Here's what we have as far as numbers. Reportedly, a gunman with a shotgun began firing in front of the Empire State Building. Reportedly, 1 innocent bystander, a young woman, shot and killed. The gunman himself killed as well. So 2 dead in all, 8 others wounded. There were reports that 7 were being triaged at the scene, so treated at the scene as well. We have with us Steve Kardian, former police detective, lending his expertise as we watch things unfold here. Steve, let's recap again. So law enforcement gets word of this shooting in front of a high-traffic, high-tourist area like this. What do you do to go make sure everybody's safe and you get control of a situation like this?
Yeah, first thing they do, Mike, which they did, is neutralize the shooter. Then they have to immediately tend to the wounded, and they have to also, in concert, secure that area, because it is a major crime scene. Even though the predator's dead, they don't know if there might be a second shooter involved or someone acting in concert.
But go on when you talk about securing an area, and again, I'm imagining there's some sort of perimeter. You want to protect evidence in a crime scene, but yet again, this is in front of the Empire State Building. What, like 4 million people every year come and visit?
Oh, it's a highly traveled area, both vehicularly and in pedestrian wise. So it's as we see on camera, they're doing a good job. They have an area sealed off. They have officers stationed. They have police cars stationed to create this barrier so that they can work within that crime scene and put together exactly the timeline and how the shooting went down, who was shot first, who the perpetrator maybe was going after, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
It's a big job for NYPD, even though they're very capable.
Okay, and again, just to reiterate, all reports, no link to terrorism at this point. And Steve, to your point, we want to find out motive. Why would something like this go down? Where does that fall in your line of priorities? Obviously, making sure everybody's safe is number one, but then you want to find out why this took place, right?
Well, likely, and we keep an open mind when we say likely one of two things. An individual was targeted, or this was an emotionally disturbed random shooting. So we won't know until we have ID on the shooter, and we see if, in fact, he did target a specific individual, or was this just the act of a madman.
This is just a nice Friday morning in New York City. One account by a woman, she's got her headphones on, she's just having her morning cup of coffee. Next thing you know, people are screaming and running, talking about shots fired. And when you think New York, and we're just not that far removed from 9/11, when you really think things in perspective, how much more of a challenge is it, Steve, than to keep people calm and safe in a situation like this?
Well, Mike, as you just mentioned, people walking down the street with their headphones on. It's the last thing that they expect to happen in this tourist area of Manhattan. And people aren't prepared for something like this. When we talk about safety, we say have a plan, an escape route for everything. So people need to revisit their daily lives and have a plan for everything. Even in broad daylight in Manhattan, the possibility of something this heinous occurring.
And Steve, when you look at the situation like this, again, we make mention that this is a high tourist area, high traffic area in front of the Empire State Building. Give us a sense of what security's like on a normal day here.
Well, being that it is a tourist area, there are foot patrolmen, there are bicycle patrolmen, there are officers in patrol cars. So the area is saturated with law enforcement, given that we know on a daily basis that there are going to be millions of people traveling through, Midtown Manhattan. Many of them tourists, many of them people that have never been to New York City before.
And when we talk about what went down as far as the wounded, a shotgun blast. Is that more of a spray? More people potentially hit by the pellets coming out of that gun?
Yeah, what happens is it's a ballistic spray within say about a 10-yard pattern. I mean, you could scatter bullets within a 5-foot radius. So the bullets they go wide and far depending upon what type of ammunition he was using.
Got it. Okay, Steve, you listen to that, and from what we're gathering there, that this gunman was shooting at a particular person, shooting at their head. Does that tell you this could have been some sort of dispute between two people?
Very likely, and we just had one yesterday, Mike, at Yankee Stadium, in which one vendor went after another vendor who we had a dispute with the day before. So this could be, once we get the shooter identified and we get the first victim identified, we'll have a good indication of whether or not this individual, this man that was first shot, was targeted, or again, a random act of a madman.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to obviously be on this all day, and we'll get those answers, and we're sure they'll come soon enough for us. But Steve, okay, so that if we have that, this could have been a dispute between two people where someone was specifically targeted. Yet we're getting that report again that unarmed security guard goes out and runs after the shooter. Again, brave, but not advised. Correct? Let's reiterate that point.
Yeah, very a brave act, but not one that we would suggest with regard to personal safety. So he's a hero, but again, we don't suggest people do that.
Got it. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. Steve, hang tight with us as we continue to follow this shooting in front of the Empire State Building there in New York City. We believe 10 shot in all, including the gunman who shot and killed. Innocent bystander could be shot and killed. 8 wounded as well. We'll keep following it for you. Stay with us. And we're going to be hearing from New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, 11 a.m., just about 10 minutes from now. Steve Kardian's with us again, former police detective, lending his insights here as we've got, so many factors here. New York City, in front of the Empire State Building, high traffic area. I mean, these are tourists, roughly, millions go there every year. to see the Empire State Building. And Steve, again, thanks for being with us. We've seen the pictures. We've seen the pictures of people crowded around. We heard reports from Rose Arce, CNN producer, that police are trying to hold up, sheets just to kind of fend people off a little bit because people are curious, but yet you got to get them out of there because we're talking about a crime scene, right?
Yeah, Mike, and the response that we're seeing is an unprecedented response. This is a huge. They've got police officers that have probably come from every precinct in New York City here, and they have a big job. Their job is to apprehend or neutralize the shooter, then take care of the wounded, and establish a crime scene at the same time. Obtain witnesses, eyewitnesses to the incident. So it's a huge undertaking by law enforcement. And I have to mention the police officer that took this individual out is a true hero.
Yeah, absolutely.
The NYPD officer that shot this man and stopped him from killing others.
Okay, and again, Steve, I'm not sure if you were able to hear as well. We were listening to CNN producer Rose Arce. She was relaying the account as she knew it, and the gunman, sawed-off shotgun, some sort of a shotgun, we believe, shot at a guy's head. So it could have been, and you and I kind of deduced from that this could have been a targeted attack, a dispute between two people. And then, as you mentioned, the security guard or some sort of employee from inside of the building goes and chases the gunman down. I mean, imagine that scene, Steve. What kind of a challenge is that like for law enforcement? Because this is what happens. Just on the spot, tragedy unfolds, and we got to act.
Well, the good thing is that at every major landmark in New York City, NYPD has officers posted for an instance such as this that may occur to hopefully be able to stop it or prevent it, if you will. So the NYPD at every major institution, they have officers, and they do anticipate, especially since 9/11, that something like this is very possible.
Steve, again, as you look at this situation, how long does something like this take? What's that scene going to be like throughout the rest of the day as police compile evidence? Rose was telling us 17 pieces of evidence at this point.
It's a lot of work for the forensic units, the investigators. I do understand that they are working in conjunction with the feds as well. So they're going to be there all day, if not longer. They do want to get it cleared. It is a major thoroughfare. They do have a large area roped off as a primary, secondary, as a crime scene.
Got it.
So they do want to get that opened up, but they got to do their job first.
Okay. Again, timeline here, we believe shooting roughly 9 a.m. Eastern time. We know that Homeland Security notified President Obama roughly 9:30. Again, at this point, no link to terrorism. And coming up now, just about 7 minutes from now, we're going to be hearing from New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg getting the latest. Steve, thanks again. Hang tight as we continue to cover tragedy in front of the Empire State Building. Stay with us.